hips are out of alignment, my pelvis is shifted, my sacrum is twisted. These are just a few of the things that I've heard many of my patients say with the mindset that I am out of alignment. And that is a very popular thing. I think if you look on social media or other places, you'll see plenty of people talking about how you need to realign your hips or you're just not positioned in a certain way correctly. But I disagree with the mindset of a lot of how we tend to approach and think about these things. So, our body, our pelvis, which is where a lot of these comments tend to resonate around, your pelvis is meant to move every day. Every time you walk, every step you take, when you shift from side to side, your pelvis, if this is one half and then this is the other half of your pelvis, are constantly shifting and turning as we walk. And again, it's obviously not this much, but to give you an idea, it's meant to move. Now, if our pelvis or maybe our tailbone or sacrum, as a lot of people like to think about, our hips tend to feel twisted or out of alignment or maybe shifted one way or another, it could be that our body is just biasing itself towards our movement preferences and the way we like to do things. But the idea of needing to constantly get readjusted or go for a spinal manipulation or hip adjustment or what have you doesn't always hit the mark, because we forget to address the reasons why we may feel out of alignment or shifted in the first place. Now, this is not to say that adjustments are bad, but if you need to have them over and over and over again, then maybe we're not addressing the reasons why they got that way in the first place. So as an example, many of us as human beings have a tendency to bias towards one side or another. Oftentimes it is our right side. There's a litany of different reasons as to why that may be. But in that case, if we tend to have a bias where we like to be on our right side, perhaps more than our left side, maybe because we're right-handed, maybe because we have a kid and we hold our kid on our right side and our right arm a lot, which pulls us over to that side. Maybe because if we look in society, door handles tend to be fitted for right-handed people. So throughout the day, you're constantly leaning to the right to do a lot of things. And there's, again, a whole host of other reasons. But if that is the case, and maybe when we walk, we spend about 51 or 52% of our time on the right versus 49 or 48% on the left, and that can add up, then okay, we can have a little bit of a bias one way or the other. And over time, that can make us feel like we're maybe a little twisted or need a little bit of an adjustment. And perhaps if you've been in the gym working out, you notice that maybe it's a little easier to load into one leg versus the other. I know I had a patient the other day mention that when she does the leg press in the gym, specifically if she does it on one leg, it's a lot easier for her to get her knee towards her chest on one side versus the other. So you may notice things like that. And if that is the case, well, here is an example of a drill done by former CHP All-Star, Dr. Cody Brown. And what he's doing in this drill is he's lying on his back, right? He's got his right leg on the wall. His left hip is in flexion. So he is working on actually pushing through the arch of his right foot so that he can feel his glute on the right side working as a muscle of push off, mimicking what we want that glute to be able to do as we push from the right leg onto the left leg during cutting, during sprinting, or even something like walking. Because if we have this right-sided bias, we may tend to get kind of stuck on that right leg and may need a little help from that glute to get off that right leg so that maybe we can spend a little bit more time on the left side and not so be right-sided biased or right-sided dominant. And then maybe if we replicate that over and over throughout the day, or maybe if we strengthen a lot of the muscles or work on a lot of the muscles that help us push off that right side to get onto our left a little bit more effectively, perhaps we won't feel like we're so misaligned, and then the adjustment that maybe you go in to have can actually stick a little bit better. But if we continue to go over and over and over again, it then becomes a little bit of the definition of insanity of trying to do the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting a different result. So if you're somebody who feels like maybe they're a little bit out of alignment, or maybe you've been told that, maybe it's time for you to contact us so that we can go ahead and identify, well, why is this? And what can we give you to do to be able to address those underlying reasons? So maybe the adjustments you're receiving can really stick a little bit more effectively, or maybe be a little bit less dependent on them overall. If that's something you're interested in, you know where to find us. We would love to be able to help you.